Preparing our future founders and leaders with meaningful internships is a gift that keeps on giving. Our guest is an award-winning Swedish-Cambodian entrepreneur, and for 13 years, he's been leading a successful global internship program. We are going to have an inspirational and oh so delicious conversation today on the Startup Life live show. Let's glow, everyone. Woo! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I know exactly from firsthand experience what you're going through as a founder, what you're crawling through, the challenges that you're facing, and oh yeah, the high level of uncertainty you face every single day. And I'm so grateful that you carved out time to tune in and up your founder game, because as you do better, your business will do better. And thank you for sharing your love wherever you're watching this video from. We're live right now on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and even Twitch. And so by liking that video, it goes out to even more folks who will tune in. And if you're watching from YouTube and you haven't done so already, please click on that subscribe button and the bell icon. Really helps the show grow and glow and reach more founders. So thank you for that. And oh, by the way, to receive an alert whenever I post a new show, come on over and join the Startup Life Live meetup group. Links are in the show notes. For those of you who are viewing, you can quickly scan the QR code or visit the link bit.ly/Startup Life Live to join the group. And this way you'll receive an alert whenever I post a new show, because you never know. There might be a founder I'm talking to or an investor or an expert that has just the information that you need. Or sometimes it's just great to come over and celebrate and share another founder's startup stories. And I don't know if you know this, but you can listen to the show on wherever you listen to podcasts. You can just hop onto my website, or you can go to wherever you love to tune into podcasts and listen to the show. And I'm just sending out a big mwah, mwah, mwah to all my podcast listeners. You all are so amazing. Thank you for tuning in. And if you resonate with the show's mission of serving founders around the world, diverse founders around the world, and amplifying diverse founder voices while serving first-time founders, please reach out to me for sponsorship, partnership, package information, because by sponsoring the show, you can have a greater impact on the startup ecosystem. Hooray and thank you. And so let me introduce you to our wonderful guest. I'm going to bring up the artwork and read a little bit about the oh so amazing Fredrik van Huynh. He's an award-winning Swedish-Cambodian entrepreneur and the co-founder of Absolute Internship, a leading global internship program matching university students with internships in person and remote at top companies around the globe. Since 2009, Absolute Internship has helped over 5,000 students with more than 800 corporate partners in world-class cities, including Barcelona, Beijing, Hong Kong, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Paris, Shanghai, Singapore, Stockholm, and Tokyo. My gosh, where are they not doing it? Let's bring Fredrik into the room with a hearty welcome and a woohoo!
Thank you so much, Andy. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so happy to have you on the show. Oh my gosh, Fredrik. So tell me, where are you hanging from today?
I am actually calling in, fun fact, from the apartment of my mother-in-law in south of France. And for all the startup founders out there, when we just started Absolute Internship, we're grinding out for a year or so, and the revenue was not enough. So I asked my mother-in-law if we could stay in her home for a year. So we didn't have to pay rent for a year. So this was the previous headquarter of Absolute Internship. So I'm sitting in the first office, so to speak.
Oh my gosh. And you founded Absolute Internship in 2009, yes?
That's right. That's right.
So this just has real grassroots for you. I love that. And hey, everybody, we need to celebrate right now with Fredrik, because he is a brand new parentpreneur. He's a dad. Tell us a little bit about your baby. Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Andy. I think it's gonna be one of the biggest adventures and journeys in my life. So I have a baby daughter now who just turned 2 months yesterday.
Yay.
So I'm balancing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm balancing being an entrepreneur, startup founder, and a father. So
Oh, we're so happy for you. Congratulations. And hey, folks, I just want to remind everyone too that we are going to have a book giveaway today. So, anybody tuning in live, I'm going to bring up the artwork here. This is one of Fredrik's favorite books, Barbara Corcoran's Shark Tales: How I Turned 1,000 into a $1 billion business. And all you need to do is comment while you're watching the show, and you're entered to win this wonderful book. I'll pop it up a few times before we pull the lever at the end of the show. I also want to remind folks, amplify your brand. Come on. You founders who are tuning in, if you have a business, please put the business name, website URL, and the one-liner. We'll pull it right up here on the screen and go, yay, congratulations for you, because we're here to cheer each other on and amplify. You never know who's going to tune in here watching the show through replays. I get thousands of replays on the show and the podcast, and they'll learn about you and your wonderful work in the world. So I'm going to take a moment, Fredrik, and send some love to Brent Manuel, who is a diverse person tuning in. Neurodiverse and other wonderful things is where he lives on Twitter Spaces, and he's from Ottawa, Canada. And you're right, Brent, you're one of the loyal fans of the show. So grateful to have you here. And hey, April, founder of the Corny Bread Company from right here in Boston. I was making some chili the other day, April, and I was thinking of you because the one thing that was missing was your cornbread. So everybody check out the Corny Bread Company. And she's happy to be listening in. And how about this comment for you, Fredrik? She says, congratulations on your new baby girl, Fredrik.
thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Parenting. I was telling Fredrik the other day when we were doing our tech show, everybody, that our tech check, that it's, when they start running, that it gets really hard, right? Yeah. When they're 2 and they're taking off left and right and you're trying to corral them. And then, of course, when they get their driver's license, it gets really nail biting. All right. So let's dive into, why did you become an entrepreneur? You came from a family that knew what real hardship and adversity was about. Talk a little bit about that, how they moved to Sweden and how they got out of Cambodia, and how that informed you as you moved forward into your adulthood and your entrepreneurship journey.
Sure, Andy. So Sweden today, it's not as multicultural as Canada or the United States, or many other countries. So when I grew up in Sweden, there were not a lot of immigrants, so to speak. So just in my own school, there were 2 Asian kids. I was one, and then there was another one, and he was adopted. So I think also my parents, they worked in a metal manufacturing company very early on. They worked at from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. And my parents, and especially my mother, was drilling that, you know what, you need to be studying. Education is free here. Education is for you to become a wiser person, a better person in this world. And it's going to give you more doors that's going to open up for you. So my mother never had opportunity to go to school in Cambodia. She raised, myself and all my siblings, and she came from a very poor family. But she was able to learn 5 languages just by listening and speaking, so to speak. So she was a big inspiration to me. And she never complained, never. And she was working from morning to evening, and then she would cook, and then she would clean. And my father, he used to take me to the library because he wanted me to learn and read, right? So from early on, it was, okay, you need to go to university. And so I was the first one to go to university in my family. And
Congratulations.
Thank you, Andy. It was a big milestone.
Yeah.
And So you asked me about becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because sometimes we're shown entrepreneurship as we're growing up, or we're
Yeah.
hustling ourselves in elementary school, moving product, or sometimes we just see a problem that we're so compelled to solve that we say, I'm the one who's going to do this. I'm going to start the business, even though I've never been an entrepreneur. I've never seen entrepreneurship around me. What was your moment? What do you think informed you to become an entrepreneur?
So I think a lot of things. So the first thing when you asked me that is when I was 9 or 10 in the winter, was snowing. I think it was a half meter of snow, which is, I don't know what it is in inches, but it's very high up. I would buy like a bunch of Christmas cards, a pack of 20. I would lend money from my father and my mother, like $2 to buy this, and I would knock on doors to sell them individually. So I would knock on doors in my little town in Sweden to sell them. So, and all the profits that I would make, I would buy candies for it. And I think also another thing that I'm thinking about
Yeah.
was we had this, you got a catalog back in the days in
Yeah.
Sweden. It was a catalog, and
Mhm.
you could sign up to sell books, like Christmas books.
That's right.
And we didn't have
Mhm.
Amazon back then. And if you were able to sell a lot, you were able to gain a lot of cash, or you could get like free stuff from the company. So I would sell every Christmas as well, because we didn't have much. I
That's
had a lot
right.
of love, a lot of, like, my mother like gave me so much self-esteem and self-confidence. But when it came to materialistic things, um, we didn't have a lot of stuff. So if I wanted to have things, I was like, okay, I need to like try to make it. Um, and
That's a
then let
even
me
more
finish.
hustling. I
Yeah,
mean,
more things, more things. So I'm starting to think another story. So yeah, so when I was in university, I had a friend, a classmate from Guatemala, and he was selling trips to Ibiza, party trips. And he was like, "Do you want to help me sell? And I'll give you part of the money that you make." And at that time I never been to Ibiza or Spain, and I was still selling them on campus. So when I graduated, so fast forward, I graduate, and I'm starting to apply to jobs, and I'm not exaggerating here. I was writing very fancy cover letters, like, and I would apply to jobs, and I wasn't able to get a job.
mm,
So I moved abroad. Always wanted to live abroad. Moved to Thailand, and I read this book called The 4 Hour Work Week. And if you're an entrepreneur, you
Tim
haven't read that,
Ferriss. Yes,
yes,
sir.
I highly recommend this. And this was when remote work and everything that he's promoting wasn't cool, so to speak. So
That's
I
right.
read that, and I was like, you know what? I have this side hustle because at that time I'm a big soccer fan. So I used to go to the Adidas and Nike factories in Thailand where they were made the soccer jerseys, and I would buy them in wholesale and I would sell them on eBay, and I made $500 approximately each month. Um, and I was living on $2 per day, because you can live a
Okay.
great life in Thailand for $2. And I was like, this is not enough. So I read this 4 Hour Work Week, and then I thought back on my time when I lived in Japan as an exchange student. That, well, I had these three classmates, and they were looking for summer internships, and I was like, I know people in China because I had studied there the semester before, and I was like, I know people there. I'm going to hook you guys up. And again, guys, this is before Airbnb, before
Right.
booking.com. Like, you
Right.
weren't able, you couldn't book something like online in China.
Right.
Um, so I hooked these friends up, and they didn't have a good time there. And I was like, okay, I started to think why. And when I was a student, when I was in Shanghai, I was like, what I loved the most was the community, and how I grew culturally and privately, but also professionally, and how quickly I matured, and the friends that I made.
Yeah.
So when I was going back then to my time in Thailand, I was Googling one night. It was a Friday night. I still remember that because I was with my today wife, was watching Sopranos. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, let me Google this summer internships. And there was this company that were selling internship programs in New York City for $12,000 for 8 weeks, and they had 400 students every year. And I did the math, and I was like, you don't need like help to get an internship in New York. People speak English there. You need help to get an internship in China where people don't speak English. And that's where the idea came, Andy. So I know it's a long answer, but I think it's important to provide that background that, okay, I was sort of forced to, but I also got a lot of inspiration from the 4-hour work week. So my idea for Absolute Internship was I can do this because I realized you don't go like to an office to look for an internship. That's something that you find online. And that meant I could run this business from anywhere in the world. And that was a foundation and super, super important for me when we started.
That is incredible story for so many reasons. First of all, thank you for sharing your wonderful parents' background and how they adapted to their new opportunity and new country, how they raised you to, with unconditional love and belief in your ability to achieve dreams. And coupled with your taking that self-direction as a child to sell Christmas cards, sell candy, and then or sell, when you got into university and move product that way, all of that gave you that kernel. And then because your dad taught you, let's go to the library and read, you were able to take in, okay, I'm reading. Here's Tim Ferriss, right? Yep, the 4-hour work week. Plus, I have behind me one of my favorite books called Rework, and that came out around 2009, 2010. Same thing, encouraging people that you don't have to have a brick and mortar, you don't have to show up in person, you can still build great relationships. All of that sort of perfect storm opportunity came together in a big Nova moment, right? In your head, and you went, oh my gosh, because boy, there's nothing more motivating than seeing a business model that you can nail and do it better. And I think when you saw that, oh yeah, we're going to have this internship program, we're going to charge you a ton of money, and it's New York City, and you're like, the value is when you can go to other countries. Oh my gosh. Hold on, everybody. I'm just going to do a quick clap on that. That was phenomenal. And
thank you, Andy.
And yes, April, I completely agree. Brilliant, how that came together. But as founders know, it's one thing to have this great idea and get so excited and enamored with it. Oh, I've got a solution for that problem. I'm falling in love with it. It's so yummy. My heart is pounding faster, just like meeting and falling in love, right?
Absolutely. I love that correlation. I've never heard of that before.
It's true, though. You just get so
it is true.
Oh my gosh,
you're so obsessed, you're so obsessed. That's all you talk about, all
that's
the time,
right. So. And so that's why you've got to make it past the chemical inspiration period in your brain and be able to do it long term. So Fredrik, you had to start implementing, you had to start thinking, okay, so if I were to do this, how do I come up with a minimum viable product idea that I can test with everybody? How do I figure out the value proposition of this idea? Walk us through that journey for Absolute Internships.
So how people, they look at it and they're like, okay, how did you do it? What's the theory around that? I was more like, all right, because how do we do this literally,
Right.
Because I've always had this sort of like gift. I had something in my stomach where I can like see the red thread, like how things could work. So for example, in our side, I was like, okay, this company, $12,000 times 400 students. They had only, I think it was 20 staff, and I did the math. So I did the math literally on a A4 paper and a pen. And I was like, okay, how much do they spend on marketing? How much does it cost to create a website? This is a very profitable business. So they had a proven business model, and I was like, okay, they go SIG, I'll go SAG, so to speak. And that has always been like the way I do things. I look at, okay, if it's proven at that market, okay, it can be proven in another market, so to speak, because the business model is proven. But I think what was really important for me was I didn't have any cash, Andy. And I know there's so many startup founders out there, a lot of what's called entrepreneurs, people that want to be entrepreneurs. They're like, yeah, I need to be raising 200,000, I need to be raising 2 million, and then I'm going to make it. We didn't raise any money, Andy. So when I looked at this, I was like, this is a business for us because it doesn't cost a lot of money to set up, so to speak. The entry to the market is very low. All I need to do is basically grind and trying to be innovative.
Excellent. And the beauty of all that, folks, is when you are edgy as an entrepreneur like that and you don't have the lubrication of money, you are forced to be really creative. And then you tap into parts of yourself that you never knew were there. You tap into areas that, wow, that's a great idea. You become more creative. You become
It
even
is
more,
true, Andy.
right?
It is true. I if that's one advice that I would give to people that are entrepreneurs who are starting a business, I would say, don't raise money because it's easier to spend other people's money. If it's your own money, it's much harder.
Yeah, it really is. And the beauty of bootstrapping, folks, is that you really get to prove traction. So you have to, you're forced to leave the, the value you have to leave what if and get right into the value proposition. So let's think about that, or to walk us through that, because everyone knows here on the Startup Life Live show that this is the number one thing I like to focus on every show, which is, here we go, everybody. For the podcast listeners, I just showed prove that value prop, because your idea amongst friends and family, everybody's going to ooh and ah. Yeah, there might be some nail biters in there, but you really have to go to the perfect stranger. And along with all of that, you have to find your product market fit. And you have to find out what differentiates you from the fancy schmancy ones or somebody who's doing it just like you, and how you find your customers. How are you going to reach them? So walk us through how you figured that out, Fredrik.
By a lot of trial and error and following my gut. I wish there was like okay, this is what we did. Our market research showed us this. There was no market research, Andy, So I think the first 2 years were really hard because I thought, we'll put up the website and, we're going to be making some money here, which is very naive, but I was very young but I had patience. But at year 2, we're trying things online, trying to get customers. But in the end of the day, I realized that you can be as much online as possible, but the best when you're starting off is to be face to face with potential customers. So I took a leap of faith in year 2. All the earnings that we made that year was not a lot. I think it was $10,000 or $15,000. I think it was less than that. And me and my partner, we just moved to United Kingdom, the UK. That time, we just found a flat online, moved there, and we said, you know what? We're gonna go to every single campus in the UK, and we're gonna speak to as many students as we can, and we're gonna live as cheap as possible, and we're gonna enroll students, and we're gonna sell. And Andy, that was the adventure of the lifetime. Number one, I laugh and I enjoy like everything, all the wet feet when it was raining so much, all the no's that we got, and all the students and all the memories that we had from that time. It was one of the toughest things I did. I moved like literally with just one suitcase. I think I had 2 professional outfits and then some casual ones, but literally the rest was just marketing material. And that's how we lived for 6 months.
Clearly, it was a very gratifying time, though, for you. And see, and what I want to point out, folks, is how Fredrik framed it. So you can look at what you're going through as arduous and hard and the worst days of your life. But if you look at it in the big picture as the journey, you're really in a discovery moment. You're a scientist trying to find the cure to this problem. And you're trying to find, and grab information, get data out of people. So if you can shift your perception like Fredrik and look at this wonderful founder journey as being like an explorer, it's extraordinary how it can turn around, even though you are suffering, even though you're crawling through a lot of adversity. What was that like for you? How did you keep the joy happening?
Um, a few months before this, I read a book that changed the trajectory of my life, and I've been an avid reader since I was young, right? Thanks to my parents. But um, How to Grow Rich. No, Think and Grow Rich by
Oh,
Napoleon Hill. Yes, Think and Grow
absolutely.
Rich.
Phenomenal. Highly
So
recommend anybody and everyone.
absolutely. So what a lot of people fail to do when they read is that they read a book and they say, "Great, you should read that book, right, Andy?" But when I read the book, I try to follow. I take what I like and I follow it. So I started to really incorporate all the steps from the book, from writing down my goals. So I had it on a piece of paper and I read that
Nice.
morning, lunch, and evening. And I didn't just read it; I believed it. And when you believe it, potential customers, they can sense it. So I remember like one time, me and my partner, we took a 7 hour train from London to Aberdeen, which is in the absolute north of Scotland, and it rains all the time there, and it's so windy and it's so cold. And we had opportunity to pitch to students there for free, and it was so terrible weather that there were only 3 students showing up, and my partner was so disappointed. Her feet were completely soaked and her shoes were completely destroyed. And I said, cheer up, because if we sell just 1 student, all this pain is going to go away. So let's put everything in this performance to try to convert one of these 3 people. So reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, following all the steps, and
Mm-hmm.
having this positive mental attitude that Napoleon Hill, he determined was a big factor among all the billionaires. um, I chose to incorporate that into my life, and I think it has really helped me.
Yeah, and the beauty of Napoleon Hill's book, folks, is not that you're sitting there going, there are no weeds in my garden, there are no weeds in my garden, and you're just sitting there. That's not the kind of positive thinking. He's, then you go out and they're all gone. No, his advice is so important because it is state of mind. So it is a
100%.
way to take your energy and focus it on where you want to go, not the pain. And Fredrik, one of my favorite quotes of Napoleon Hill is his, within every moment of adversity is a golden seed of opportunity. So while your co-founder was, my feet are cold, my clothes are soaked, what are we doing here? We're wasting our time. You were like, no, we're going to land one intern here, one sale, and this is what's going to turn it around. And you're going to keep looking for that opportunity. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, Andy. And it makes me a little bit emotional because um, I remember I've been called crazy, I've been called dumb, I've been called so many things, and I just took that as a fuel because I had this inner belief, and it's what you're saying. Like, people say, yeah, Napoleon Hill is all about just positive thinking, and that's crap. But that's because you don't have anything that you strongly like. You don't have that burning desire that Napoleon Hill talks about. You need to have the burning desire. And I would give up like everything for the company to grow at that stage, because I saw the company, I saw how it was going to be in the future. So I just kept that inside, and that burning desire, because I knew how important that was. Because I said to myself, if I don't believe it, and if my mind just have a little bit of doubt, it's not going to happen.
That's right. And those of you who are raising money or trying to land new customers, they are going to pick it up if you have that level of doubt. If you can't see it, they can't see it. But if you're seeing it and holding that vision and taking them with that story, those investors are coming on board because of you and your determination. Damon John always said, I'm investing in this founder now, but if this doesn't work out, I'll invest in whatever they do next, because of their determination, their passion to keep going forward and willing to do whatever it takes. And folks, it doesn't mean that, your business blows up. That happens. You can move on and do another one.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. By the way, I love the comment section here for those that are like on YouTube. I know I'm getting Tyler B. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But no, I love
Compliments
this.
are well appreciated, Tyler B. Why don't you go? I'll read it because Frederick's not going to say, "Hey, I'm handsome." Tyler B on YouTube is saying Frederick is handsome, and he's absolutely right. And some days it's okay to just throw out the comments that are about how we're nailing it on our look and feeling. So I just love where we just went, though, on how we try to stay strong during really tough times, cold, rainy, windy, freezing, but it would only take one customer. So now, and you've been at this for 2 years already. Folks, people just do not understand that this startup life is a marathon and you
I
are
agree.
exploring constantly. So, what did you need to do next to get your company to the next level?
I needed to mature personally. I think you were saying something very important, like okay, 2 years, and it's a marathon. And I think one thing that a lot of people that want to become an entrepreneur, or people that are even are entrepreneurs, that they lack is mental toughness. And that's something that a lot of people like Damon John, Barbara
Yeah.
Corcoran, especially Barbara, who I love dearly, they talk about how many no's you can take. And for me, I love this from Mark Cuban when he says, "Every no gets me closer to a yes." And these things, I used to read it to me. I've saved like these quotes on a Word document, and I would read this to myself every morning together with my goal. Um, but I'm sorry, Andy, I lost track now. What
That's
was the
okay.
question again?
Well, I'm just going to first go back to an important thing you just said, Frederick, which is, folks, this getting up every day and focusing on your goals. If you go to the gym, you've got to consistently do the weights, do the aerobic. Same thing if you're on an eating plan that you need to stick to in order to achieve a goal. This, as a founder, the greatest tool you have is between your ears. And you have
Yeah,
to every
exactly.
day work on your mindset is the most important part of your founder journey. So I love that we're exploring this with Frederick, because you can be in such adverse conditions and people are going to just be telling you there's no way. And as Frederick said, you're dumb. You're never going to make this happen. This is crazy. You're just a train wreck ready to happen. All sorts of comments will come your way. But holding on to that inner belief. And so those mornings that you start off
Yeah.
with the I can do it, and you see yourself moving forward, you'll be surprised what your brain will find for strategies, next steps to take you toward that goal. So you have that ultimate goal that you're focusing on. And as Frederick just shared, you're taking these wonderful steps every day. And they might you'll pull on the thread and you'll go, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. But because you're training your brain to think about possibilities, not obstacles, you're going to succeed. Right, Frederick?
Yes, I remember your question now,
Oh,
and I'm
good.
going to answer it more like practically so people actually can take action on it. So, what I realized was okay, after 2 years, I have 2 years of like entrepreneurial experience, but I need more. How can I get this as fast as possible? So,
Because you
I
needed
would
to
do things
mature.
that exactly. So, I
Yeah.
did things that other people wouldn't do. So, I woke up extremely early, and I think I woke up at 5 a.m. and so I would train. I've always been into sports. So I would go to the gym and train for an hour. And then from 6 to like 8, I would learn. So I would read. I would read so much. I would like Google things that I needed to learn. It would be like SEO. It would be like how do you grow a business. I would watch like all the keynote speeches that Barbara Corcoran have on YouTube. Damon John, Mark Cuban, you name it. Like so many entrepreneurs that I look up to,
Yeah.
Robert Herjavec. So I would take like notes of things that they said, stories, and I would write it down, and I would take it as an inspiration, but at the same time as an education, as a mentor talking to me. And I was like, none of our competitors are doing this. I am doing this. I'm doing it for me. And I had this mindset that I'm training myself. I'm
Yes.
being here
Yes.
in the gym, like training, just training my mind when my competitors are sleeping. And they became sort of like an unfair competitive advantage to myself. Also
That's a
during the
moat.
lunches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were also during the lunches, I would be like to my co-founder, I'd be like, we'll eat, but let's put on this keynote speech for half an hour and we'll learn something. So
I love that self-direction. And folks, yes, when Fredrik began, he was in his 20s. You think, oh, well, he's going to have all that extra energy. You can be entering your 60s and you can still implement this level of what I call self-exploration and self-direction to up your founder game. Do not get caged by your age. Keep focused on what you want to achieve and also how you want to feel. Because at the end of the day, founders are seeking fulfillment on a level that most people just can't even imagine because of
yeah,
how this journey taps into brilliance that you have, you never would have known. And it helps you build those resilience muscles, those tenacity muscles, and certainly the courage muscles to keep going. And so I don't want you to stop just because you think, oh, well, you look at Fredrik, he's handsome and he's young. That should not stop you. You can easily tune in to Guy Raz, How I Built This. Tune into the Startup Life Live show. Hear, different founders' stories to keep you inspired and learn from them and keep the mindset focused, because it's a culmination of how you want to build your business, how to reach those customers, how to, focus on the LTV CAC ratio, all of those numbers and raising money and all of that. But at the same time, as I said earlier, the most important tool is what you have between your ears, which is your brain.
and you know what, thank you very much, guys. I'm just reading here in the YouTube comments. Anna, thank you very much. A big shout
Go
out to
ahead.
Al, who's in his 60 there.
Yeah, read
Really
on this
awesome.
comment, Fredrik.
Anna, really insightful, great episode. Thank you.
Yay. And then here's Al Gettlers. Read his comment, please.
Al, I have entered my 60s and follow Fredrik's advice each day. Awesome, Al.
Thank you.
High
Al, so good
five
to
to
see
you.
you. So good to see you. Let's talk about when did you feel that you'd reached that point? Because you were at this for quite a few years, that you'd reached the point where the business was now seeing profitability and sustainability. What was that turning point?
When I could take out my first salary, I think it was in
Yes.
year 4,
Yes.
and I would tell my family about it because for 4 months, I think it was 4 or 5 months, I was working out of my sister's balcony back in Sweden. And that summer it was especially cold, so we're working in jackets. She just had a baby, so we were interviewing students, and they heard the baby in the back, and they're like, "Yeah, what was that?" And I was funny memories. But when I could take out my first salary, that was a big step. Another one was when we started to get this media attention. BBC, the New York Times, Forbes
Nice.
wrote a really nice article about myself, and that made me ask myself a lot of important questions, which I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs think about.
For
Which
example,
was, for example, is this what I want? What do people think about me? Really? Like, who does he think that he is? Being this big shot. Do I want to become this like famous person, not a celebrity, but like a famous person in the startup scene? And I couldn't answer a lot of questions, but I'm a humble guy. Like people that know me privately, I'm a very humble guy. So um I started to like say no to things. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that interview. I'm not gonna do that thing. I sort of like put myself in the shell and just started to work. Like, let's just let the work do the talking. So yeah,
oh,
it was a
hold on,
big thing.
everybody.
Yeah,
Let
I
the
was
work
like,
do the
I'm
talking. I'm feeling a
exactly.
stitch that on a pillow moment.
It's great. I think it was good. Let the work do the talking. But I regret some of it because I would have loved to continue build my brand. I took a pause for many years, and I
Mhm.
just started like last year again. And I think that's something that I wish that I would have spent more time on.
So as you were, because again, your company, and I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here with the website while you're answering this question. You founded it in 2009. What year did you feel like you were now sustainable and profitable? And, where does that fit in today with where you're at?
Let me see. So I would say a year 4 we were
Okay.
sustainable and profitable.
Yep.
And we've been growing like 200-300% each year, and we've
Oh
been
my
profitable every year. Yes.
gosh.
I think
Wow.
one thing, Andy, that is so important that a lot of entrepreneurs they neglect is that you
Mhm.
need to control your cash flow like it's like your blood veins. Is the number one advice that I would have to all entrepreneurs, because if you can't control your cash, you're gonna die as a company.
Right.
So
Well, what does control your cash look like?
that means that you always have a few months of
Yeah.
cash reserves in case
Right.
your marketing plans are not happening. It
Right.
means looking at your expenses. It means questioning your expenses, not just being like, okay, let's do this because we've always done that. Questioning your expenses and see, okay, what can we do to operate more efficiently and cheaper.
Brilliant advice. Take that in, folks. Okay. Gary Vee talks
I
about this a lot. Move home, if you
Okay,
have
that's
to, or,
awesome.
you
That's
know,
awesome. Now, but one concrete example,
yeah.
Andy, is that we used to have offices in Shanghai, Hong Kong, and London.
Hmm.
So imagine I was 25 years old, I had staff in 3 different locations, and it cost us a lot of money. That's a very high burning rate. And we've never taken a bank loan, and we're completely self-funded, and no investors. So, and one day I was like, we have no one visiting our offices. We don't need 3 offices. I was like, let's go back to the 4-hour work week. So I was like, what's a city or where's a place in the world that fits with the North American and the Asian time zone where I would be happy to live, honestly happy, where I would eat healthy food close to my family, where we could operate the business more cheaply and more expensively. So I think that's a very good example. So I think a lot of people,
Excellent.
like in North America, you might be living in San Francisco, Austin. Where can you be running your business cheaper? I don't know, Montana, or any other place that is
And
cheaper.
nowadays, it's more acceptable thanks to this little silver lining of the pandemic is it's so much more acceptable to be working from home. I've done it with many of my businesses, and certainly when I was raising babies. But let's talk a little bit about why you're so passionate about remote work. And what you just talked about is what I call scaling down. I mean, you're scaling your business up, but you're scaling your expenses down, and you're keeping that lean machine. And folks, when you keep it lean, it not only helps the bottom line, innovation continues to come in, because if you get too much systems and procedures, which are important for scaling, at the same time innovation takes a back seat. So there's this fine line as founders of keeping things running smoothly but staying lean and keeping that sort of bootstrapped founder mentality. What do you think, Fredrik?
100%. I think when you are forced to like streamline and become more efficient your business, you force yourself to be more innovative. But at the same time, we spoke a lot about it today. What's inside your mind is so important. You have to stay motivated. And as an entrepreneur, you're the leader of your company, you're the captain of the ship. And you need to stay mentally tough, but mentally fit, so to speak.
Right.
So, continuing to seek inspiration, continuing to get information about the new things. And that's how you're able to keep improving your business,
And
because
delight.
without you
Yeah.
being inspired, like nobody's gonna come and impact your business.
And you have to continue to delight your customers while delighting yourself. So,
Absolutely, yes.
and
100%.
keeping that up.
100%.
Hey, Jeanette, it's so good to see you. Jeanette, mother of 5. I always have to put that out because parentpreneurs, I think, really have a lot going on. And so I'm always so proud of the founders who are juggling building a business as well. And she says that she read a lot of books, did a lot of free seminars. And by the way, waking up at 5 a.m. is early for me. I wake up at 4 a.m. almost every day. Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah, no, I can't
incredible.
do 4 a.m. That's too early, Janet.
That's way too early. And why don't you go ahead and read this comment?
So, to great advice, being selective with resources and from whom you take an opinion is important. Love how down to earth your sharing is. Thank you, Andy and Fredrik.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Is that
Thank
Ty?
you, Twee.
Twee? I have no idea. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for tuning in and sharing that wonderful comment. I just want to remind everybody today, just by commenting, you are entered to win one of Fredrik's favorite books, Barbara Corcoran's Shark Tales, How I Turned 1,000 into a $1 billion Business. Yay! So
It's an amazing book, guys.
We'll pull the lever at the end of the show and we'll see who gets the confetti and wins this. So, one of the things I'd love to learn more about too is that you are passionate about martial arts. And I know as a mom that raised, with her boys, made sure they did 2 things growing up, martial arts and scouts, because I felt that both taught respect for others and community, as well as respect for oneself. And certainly scouting teaches service and has you constantly looking outside yourself. But boy, at the dojo, our boys learned incredible manners and how to honor someone else. Talk about how martial arts has served you, because also it's a physical as well as mental sport.
So martial arts has taught me a lot of things. So I think number one, that there's no finish line. You can always become better, and there's always somebody who's better than you. And to stay humble, that even if you have been successful, earned your black belt, there's always somebody around the block who can submit you, even if that person has a lower belt. Martial arts has taught me that there's always something that you can improve with yourself, always.
Wow.
So if you're running a business, you may say, okay, like, we're the market leader, but you know what? There's like thousands of other entrepreneurs out there who want to take you down. There's one person in the audience now who's who's selling bread. I'm sure there's other people out there who want to be like overtaking your market share when it comes to cornbread, right?
Right.
So what are like one thing that you could improve every day? And another thing with martial arts is that it has taught me that you don't have to improve like 50% today. You need to improve 1% each day. So if it's just a little thing that you can do today, that's great, because it compounds. If you're committed, it compounds. So just a simple example. You do 1 push-up per day. Tomorrow you do 2 push-ups. That's like 2 push-ups that you wouldn't have done like 2 days ago. So if you just keep at it, being committed, and the same with Al, who's watching all the YouTube videos.
Right.
If you're watching every single day, whether that's like 10 minutes, it compounds, because after a week, it would have been 70 minutes that you have watched that, the average person wouldn't have watched.
Feed your brain. Oh my gosh, I'm having an Andelicious moment here. This is where so many founders get into trouble, Fredrik. They want to see this incredible things happen very quickly, because we're used to watching the TV shows, right? Things get solved in an hour, or sometimes you have to binge and it gets solved in 8 hours, but still it gets solved quickly. And that's not what this journey is about. And you can keep moving forward 1 iota at a time, that 1% incremental improvement, especially if it's on your mindset. That mindset will lead you to find like our guest on Friday, the conversion rate optimization expert that's going to turn your website visitors into customers that keep returning. Things that you can do to have a better understanding of what is the long-term value, what is the customer acquisition cost, how much is it really costing me to bring this customer on board? Who wants to know that as a founder, right? But you have to. So you watch another video that explains it and you go, I don't understand that. And you play it again. Like, I might know it a little bit more now. And then you play it again. It's like, oh, wow, I think I'm getting some understanding here. And sometimes it means you get enough understanding so you can delegate. You can hire the right person to do it. So that's why I had the Andelicious moment, folks. You can look at your founder journey as something that you keep getting better at every day, at a little bit at a time. And sometimes you're going to take some steps backwards. So, but quickly for Jeanette, I want you to know that over on YouTube, April, who is local, she's in Boston, she's owns the Corn Bread Company, which I know you would love, says, wow, hats off to you, Jeanette, 5 children awake at 4 a.m. and a business owner. Woo woo. April, Jeanette's business is the Bow Hub, which she has 4 of her 5 children are girls, and they love wearing the bows in their hair. So you two should connect on LinkedIn, okay? And you can learn more about that. And April, I love your comment that says no finish line. There's always more you can do, more you can improve on, more you can learn. Oh, that just lights me up on fire. And yes, Jeanette's absolutely right. Consistency, that's the way to go. 110%. So, this conversation is so delicious because it's inspirational. And we're really talking about how to keep moving that ball forward, no matter what kind of company you have. And here, we have a company that's clearly a tech-based company that's putting together programs. It still has some, what we would call maybe click and mortar opportunities. What is your vision today for Absolute Internship? What's really lighting you up and keeping you on fire?
I want to build number 1, a fully remote company. And number 2, I'm so passionate about inspiring people, and especially young people. Why? Because I think I want to pass on the inspiration I got from my mother, to our customers. And I think that's my gift. That's something I want to pass on to the future generation.
What is the inspiration you got from your mother that you want to pass on?
That you can do anything that you want in the world, and it doesn't matter your background.
Yeah.
Literally. And I believe it because I have done it. So, and you know what? I know we spoke about mental, like what's inside your head, but I want to repeat it again, and it's something that I force myself to exercise each year. Andy, I force myself. I do martial arts, and I am committed. But I'm gonna be honest. Some days I don't like it. I don't want to go. I'm too tired. I want to do something else. But I sign up for crazy races, Spartan races. I did the Barcelona marathon last year. I hate running. The longest I ran has been 14 kilometers, and the marathon is 42. So I force myself to do these things because if I don't grow, my company doesn't grow. So that's one thing that I really, really is focused on. But when it comes to what I'm passionate about with Absolute Internship and our companies, inspiring the next generation, not only the university students, but the high school students. I want to have an impact on them because, to be honest, I think they need that. I think a lot of young people today are very lost.
Right.
I don't know if you guys agree, those that are parents out there, but that's what I believe.
We're seeing the results just in the depression and suicide rates. So without getting too dark on that, I really see how aligned you are with your work in the world. Because yes, you are representing that you don't have to look like everybody or be like everybody or have an extraordinary background or incredible connections or social capital and network or money. You can create something out of nothing into something valuable. I'm thinking of one of our former guests, Abraham from Pitch Gauge. Same thing. He was incarcerated for 4 years. That's how he started his life. and he turned it around. So it's that ability, but also what's beautiful about your platform is that when students can get out into the world and see how other cultures are, they get a deeper understanding of humanity. And it's no longer that
100%.
focusing on themselves, it's focusing on humanity, that we're all humans. And we are, as Brent said, here, how diverse is your company, right? That diversity brings so many different voices to the table, and you're sending interns out to see how other companies experience, even though it might be remote, right? They still have to partner on teams as an intern and understand how folks from a completely different region, a completely different country operate, think, care about, what they cry about, and what they're concerned about. What do you say to that, Fredrik?
I would say that made me think of a customer that we had. I was in Beijing a few years ago. White student from the Midwest in the US, never been abroad, and it comes from a little town in the Midwest where everyone goes to the same church, everyone is white, everyone votes for the same party, and came to Beijing completely shocked, completely like homesick the first week, and like after 6 weeks in China, completely changed, so open-minded, um completely, like it was like giving him glasses, and he saw the world, how beautiful it was, how diverse it was. And he told me that, Fredrik, you changed my life, and I think you have a business that changes the world one person at a time, and I'm so young that I'm gonna live another 50 years, and imagine how many people that I'm gonna be able to impact thanks to what you have put together. And I think that's the wisdom that I'm thinking about when you talk about diversity.
Opening up
I
hearts
love
and
that.
minds. Oh my
Absolutely,
gosh, I need
absolutely.
tissue, please. Thank you. But I do want to answer Brent's question. Brent Manuel from Ottawa, Canada, who is very committed to diversity, has a wonderful Twitter Spaces conversation regarding it. So how diverse is your company?
So I don't have exact stats, Brent. I love that question though, but we have staff members from Nicaragua, Cuba, Vietnam, the US, Spain.
All different voices.
Exactly. We have French staff members as well.
Yeah.
And we are predominantly female. There's me and one other boy actually in the
That's
company.
great.
So yeah.
Oh, thanks for that great question, Brent. Fredrik, we've been talking a lot about mindset and inspirational ways to get through the founder journey. What is your favorite tool? I mean, you've talked about how you get yourself out and to work out and do your martial arts, etc. But when you are sitting there going, all right, this is enough. I can't take this another day. I am not worthy to be the leader of this business. I am failing completely. I'm not able to move my company forward. And anybody who's listening, hi, podcast listeners, or watching this show right now or later via replay, hi, please remember, I can send you to a TED Talk of founders who have cashed out, like big time cashed out, and they're on their third company and they're still feeling inadequate. So this is something we all face. What we're talking about here is what tool works best for you, Fredrik, when you need to shift your headspace?
YouTube. Very easy. Like I go on YouTube and I watch like a 5 or 10 minutes inspirational clip. You just search inspirational clips, and you put in a person that you look up to. I resonate a lot with David Goggins, Jesse Itzler, The Rock, Damon John, and etc. Like you put in the person that you're inspired to, and you watch that.
That's
And
right.
you get fired up after that. That's one thing that I do. A second thing that I do is I love travel documentaries. So I would watch travel documentaries that provides perspective. So, for example, last night I watched a travel episode. There's a guy that takes a train. It's in French. He traveled to South Africa and he went to these really really poor villages and places, and that gave me a lot of perspective. And I love that because I love culture, but I love like learning things,
And you
and I love
and you would love
traveling. But
you
that
would love
brought
the
me perspective.
yeah, and you would love the documentary right now. I think it might be on Prime, called Salt.
Okay.
And what they do is they follow a family in India who 8 months out of the year go in and harvest salt.
Yeah,
And you
I would
talk
love
about
that. Yeah.
perspective. It's amazing. Folks, I also want to bring up another comment from Brent Manuel, because he is absolutely right. Having disabled people in your workforce is important, whether it's vision, hearing, neuro, whatever it is. Disabled people have a lot to bring to the company, and we're all about disabled pride and disability pride. And Jeanette, Brent saying hi. I wasn't sure. Sometimes people are on different platforms, so they don't see their comments. One final thought, which is so hard because I can't stand the thought of wrapping up this delicious conversation with you. But you've been at this one as a young man, but still, how has entrepreneurship served you both personally and professionally?
I have had opportunity to see the world with entrepreneurship, which was one of the goals. So when I started off Absolute Internship, I asked myself very deep questions. What do I want from this? Because my mother told me a successful or a company or an overnight success takes 10 years. So I made the math that would be over 30 in 10 years. And what would success look like? Like, how would this journey look like? And I wanted to travel. So that's something that I've been able to benefit from. Another thing that really I've been able to do as an entrepreneur that I've really benefited from throughout this journey is meeting people from all around the world, from all walks of life. So interesting people. And I believe that's what it is in the end, you
Yeah,
know, becoming a wiser person to become a better service to this world and to become a better server to the world. And in order to do that, you need to have more experiences and you need to meet more people. So I think that's one, like some really
I
big
love that.
takeaways. Because Andy, to be honest, I know we're in this. There's a big startup community here. I've been meeting very wealthy private individuals and private equity firms who's been willing to buy our company and say, "Hey, Fredrik, you don't have to work for the rest of your life." And I'm gonna be honest. That's been enticing.
Oh,
Like, yes,
yeah.
I could have bought the Porsche, I could have bought the Ferrari that I was dreaming about when I was in high school, but I was asking myself, what is more important, to have those things and a bunch of like paper with old people's faces on it, or doing something that I actually really am passionate about and having a real impact on the world? And what's the legacy that I want to leave behind?
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much for that thought. It's just, this is why you're such an extraordinary human. I'm so grateful that you joined me on the show
Thank
here.
you. Thank you,
Let's,
Andy. I
let-
appreciate that.
oh
It's
no,
very kind of you.
it's true, folks. The material things are just that. They don't fill your heart. I mean, they give you a wow factor, of course, but the things that really help you in life are when you're making an impact, when what you do has a ripple effect in the world. That is what, when you're taking your last breath, you're feeling the most wonderful about, is that you were able to help others. I am going to pull up the giveaway screen right now so that we can go ahead and see who is going to be our winner today and make sure that it all works right. Okay, here we go. Who's going to win the Barbara Corcoran book? Woo! This is so much fun. Where's the confetti? Yay! I don't know who this person is. Oh, it's on Twitch. I'm going to draw again, folks, because I think that person commenting was, I'm going to do a draw again. Okay, here we go. Al Kettler. Yay!
Awesome, Al.
So, Al, I will find you and we will get you a copy of one of the favorite books that has really helped Fredrik, and it's Shark Tales, How I Turned 1,000 into a $1 billion business. And if you haven't read it yet, you'll love it. And if you have, you can pass it on to someone else. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you so much for joining me today, Fredrik. Please let me know any last thoughts you have before I pop you into the green room.
It was a pleasure to be on the show, Andy. Thank you very much. For anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about me, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, TikTok, or listen to my podcast, Fika with Rice, where I interview a lot of successful entrepreneurs, athletes, billionaires, and
we
successful
forgot to
people.
promote that. Turn it off.
Not a problem.
I'm going to bring this up here. You can find Fredrik everywhere he glows, and definitely connect with him. I'll have all the links in the show notes. I'm going to pop you in the green room and wrap up. Thank you so much, Fredrik, for this delicious conversation today.
A lot of gratitude.
Yes,
thank you, Andy.
Big time for me too. Woohoo! All right, everyone. I am so inspired. And on so many of the topics that Fredrik shared today, really, there were a lot of Andy-licious moments and a lot of stitch that on a pillow moments for me. And I hope there were for you too. I want to share with you who's coming on the show next. And it's on February 25th at 12 p.m. ET. It's Fab Female Founder Friday with our extraordinary guest, Monique Maley. And when you scale a startup, turbulent times will happen. You heard Fredrik share his turbulent times, and Monique will show you how to be best prepared for when your startup's growth slows, plateaus, or even declines. And how do you know when I'm posting a new show? You join our meetup group. I'm sure there's going to be a founder there that you're going to learn from and grow from. And that's one thing we really talked a lot about today, right? Was how important it is to continue to up your game, get your brain moving, your mind, everything. And so I am so grateful again that you carved out time to tune in and up your founder game with us today, because as you do better, your business will do better. And take away this final thought with you from the wonderful A.A. Milne, which is you're braver than you believe and stronger than you seem. And as we say here in Boston, you're wicked smarter than you think. And that's the beauty of this founder journey, right? It pulls out all those things to prove to you, evidence that you are braver and stronger and smarter than you can believe. So when the doubt starts to take over, just shift yourself out of that mindset. Talk to other founders who are going through that, and keep tuning into the Startup Life Live Show. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Wishing you a delicious day everywhere you go. Mwah. Bye, everyone.